Okay, so it's 4:30 p.m. We are about to start. So a very warm welcome to everyone who has joined us today for this RHEA Talk 15 of a series. And today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, the new space. An element that we know is going to change and has changed already very much the way we conceive space and the way we are actually doing our business. So I'm Giovanni Martucci. I'm RHEA Business Development Manager in Italy. I will be facilitating, or at least trying to facilitate the discussion today among our esteemed panelists. I'm replacing Arne Mattisen, our CTIO, that unfortunately could not attend the meeting because he's at home with a he's sick and he lost completely his voice. So I'm trying to to replacing, and so I'm the one to be blaming should anything go wrong. But I'm sure this will not happen. So as I said, we're going to talk about the new space, how this is going to impact the way we are doing activities in space, about new business models, and how these will change and impact the society. So how space, thanks and through new space activities, will actually be able to provide inputs and benefits to our society. So now, I would say that with no further ado, we can start introducing our panelists. So I have the enormous privilege to facilitate their discussion, and so we have today Miss Murielle Lafaye. She is the Deputy Director of the Space Observatory in the Directorate of Strategy at CNES, and she manages a team of 8 people in charge of business intelligence and space foresight. And her team conducts a survey on the evolving societal needs, also on the evolutions of the space markets, companies, and new actors worldwide in order to anticipate impacts on the space ecosystem. Ms. Lafaye is also the CNES representative at the OECD Space Forum and in CoSpace, the Government Industry Concentration Committee. Then we have Dr. Gianluigi Baldesi, that is the head of ventures and financing office at the European Space Agency. He has more than 20 years of business and technology leadership experience for future aerospace missions in a cross-cultural environment. And in his experience within ESA, he has held several positions in the Technical and Space Transportation Directorate, including the Strategy Department under the ESA Director General. Gianluigi has a PhD in Systems Engineering from Supaero and Sapienza University of Rome, and an Executive MBA from Columbia Business School and London Business School. We have then Dr. Andreas Stamminger, that is the Group Business Development Manager at OHB Systems, where he coordinates business activities within the group. And before joining OHB in 2017, he used to work at DLR, where he spent 14 years, where he was project and campaign manager for sounding rocket missions, mainly at ESRange. Andreas has a PhD from Technical University of München in Germany in atmospheric reentry behavior, and also on research rocket payloads. We have then our Chief Commercial Officer, Dr. Pascal Rogiest. As a CCO, he provides direction and manages all of RHEA's global sales and business development activities, leveraging the expanding service lines and core competencies of the company. Pascal spent most of his career at CES, where he held technical, commercial, business, and corporate development positions until he became vice president, head of mergers and acquisitions. Pascal has a background in electromechanical engineering and a PhD in aerospace. Last but not least, we have Pierre Wilhelm. there is Aerospacelab's Chief Commercial Officer and acting CEO for the group's Swiss subsidiary. Prior to joining the company in 2021, he was a business manager at Honeywell Aerospace. Pierre holds an MBA from the IMD Business School and a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and his main professional focus is on the aviation, space, and defense industries. So now that we have introduced, I hope properly, all our panelists, we can start the discussion, and we can begin with Murielle. So we know that CNES is investing a lot of resources and funding into the new space organization and activities. We would like to know from you and hear from you what was the driver that pushed a well-established national energy agency such as CNES in supporting such a new adventure, and what is the expected the growth you expect in terms of impacts in the French space sector from such an investment. Murielle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giovanni. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to attend this panel. Yes, I think one has to know that now the space sector is entering toward what I call the new economical space, because there's really an acceleration in everything we are doing, addressing access to space and now what we call logistics. Addressing what was previously space stations that were institutional objects and that are turning to private and commercial operators. Also addressing connectivity and addressing insights. Everything is moving very, very quickly, and especially addressing logistics, as you may know, with the Falcon 9 rocket now, the cost of a kilogram into space is about $5,000 only, and maybe tomorrow with the Starship it would be only less to 20. So it's a huge breakthrough in the access to space and the development of the real space logistics. So it's now, let's say, the time for space as a service. Also, space stations with the retirement of, let's say, whole international space station around 2030, 2035. We have now NASA that has contracted 4 contracts with private operators to take over the ISS. So it paves the way to private investment for this operator to take over an institutional station. Also, connectivity is developing very, very fast. Of course, today everybody knows about Starlink development with more than 5,000 objects launched to date, but also Telesat, the Canadian with Lightspeed, also United States with Kuiper project, with the Chinese with Guowang, and Europe with IRIS² are on the line to also provide a worldwide connectivity through satellites. But tomorrow, this connectivity could be also a real breakthrough with the satellite direct-to-phone systems. And what we see today is that terrestrial operators that were lasting from satellite come from the phone years are coming back very quickly to find deals with these new SATCOM operators of connectivity in low Earth orbit, to be part and to be a real player in the game. So also for the insight, we were talking about Earth observation, optical, radar, hyperspectral bandwidth, and so on. But now it has turned to insight as a service. It's data fluxes we have today in our hands, and these data fluxes are used with deep learning treatments to develop digital twins for tomorrow, to understand the interaction in our planets from the atmosphere, terrestrial proposals, and maritime issues also. It opens the way to climate change adaptation services, and all this is going pretty fast. So to address all this, NES has changed its way of doing. We have changed our role. Of course, we're still a national agency. We are supporting the development of our industrial ecosystem, but in a different way. We think that now our ecosystem is quite mature, and we have to support innovation. And this innovation, we want to support it through the procurement of demonstration services. Also, it opens the possibility for private investors to invest in these new companies who want to develop to provide users with this new kind of services. And so, thanks to our plan France 2030, with 1.55 billion euros until 2030, we are supporting this procurement of satellite demonstration services for the benefit of our society. So at CNES, also we have created the observatory, the Space Observatory for economic intelligence and space foresight, but also, let's say, whole group called Connect by CNES. You can go to these people with an ID, and they're going to help you to make this ID flourish and to turn it into a new company and to maybe service provider. So it's also a new way of doing things. Also supporting R&D has changed with challenges and prices. And so you can propose your new offers for R&D, and you go back immediately with some money to go faster. So it's a new way of doing things, and it works. It works because when we look at the dynamic of the new companies that have started their business for these, let's say, 3-5 years, you can see that there is a very nice dynamic in terms of people, in terms of jobs that have been created in France. And also, France has become a place where it's good to make business. And we see companies from United States, from Canada, from many countries in Europe, opening some offices in France to take benefit of this dynamic we have created. So this is a new way of developing the business, of supporting the development of innovation and creating value and jobs. Thank you.
Wow, that's absolutely fantastic, Muriel, and it's evident that France is once again at the forefront of activities in this sector. So it's really impressive, the numbers you showed and shared with us. So thanks a lot for this. But now I think it would be very interesting also to have some thoughts from ESA and to have and ask Gianluigi to share with us some of his thoughts and some of his let's say how we see the new space markets and the growth they're in. So Gianluigi, can you share with us some numbers about this? I don't know if it's me, but we cannot hear you, possibly.
Any better now?
Yes, now it works. Thanks a lot.
Good.
Yes.
So I'll say good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the kind of invitation. It's a pleasure to be second. So Murielle already provided the good overview of the market, and indeed, let's say we have plenty of numbers that we can share about this. Maybe to reply to quickly on your call, just a reflection. In 2021, there was a 13 billion private investment that was invested worldwide. And in Europe, we had around 600 million. So it was very small compared to the global picture. In 2022, we had a reduction of the private investor, also following other sector behavior. So the private investor dropped to 10 billion. However, in Europe, we doubled because we managed to attract 1 billion on private investor. Now, this is, let's say, can be a proxy of that show the interest not only of investors coming from different sectors, especially in the deep tech, entering interesting and explore opportunity on the business in space, but also to show the maturity of the company that convince investors to do this step. Now, as Murielle has mentioned, all the space agency are really reflecting a big transformation. What will be our role, and how we can contribute more to the benefit of the sector. And in particular, the agency, what it wants is to create, together with the different partners at European and national level, which are our shareholder, to create Europe as a commercial hub, which can create and facilitate the growth of company to become the global leader of the future. How we do this? So the question is, like the space agencies has been, let's say, setting clear requirement, providing, they were the main customer. If you think about 20 years ago, we were the main customer. We were, let's say, not only supporting R&D, but also during the development, we were very prescriptive on what should be done, how it should be done. Now, we are working in a more different way. So we are playing more, we are encouraging the development of new commercial business, where the agency is not a customer anymore, or can be one of the customers, where somehow ESA can support on this co-funding activity, all the co-funding activity that we have. To give some name, we have InCube, BUS, Boost, Navis, all our programs which are specific on the different thematic, Earth observation, telecommunication, navigation, where the agency is assessing, together with its member states, commercial businesses. And we support company to mature the TRL from a very low TRL, 3, 4, to arrive up to TRL 9. We do this, and for us, this role, we see ourselves as a partner, where we can contribute to development of the product. However, we are not the main customer. Moreover, we have been developing in the past several additional services, especially for the early phase, where ESA is an enabler. So we are not really supporting the development of the product or the service, but we're more supporting the business of the company, where we are not the customer. And this is, to give a clear example, is the ESA BIC, all the, let's say, the incubation center that we have around Europe. We have 29 incubation centers today, with over 200 startups a year that are entering in our network. More and more, we are start to play the anchor customer role, where the agency is somehow is procuring services from the different, let's say, different companies. With the commission, we had Copernicus contributing mission. We are launching now, as the Space Summit a couple of weeks ago, a commercial space cargo initiative to support development of new commercial cargo to go to the low Earth orbit. So you see the agency has changed dramatically its role, its contribution on the sector. And moreover, what is very important is that we are trying really to facilitate, on the top of supporting company across the different phase of the life cycle, starting from the ESA BIC to the development of the product, and to, at the end, to have a customer role. We are also trying to facilitate the access to finance, which is one of the bigger challenges that we have. For this reason, we I have set up 2 years ago AISA investor network, where we have more than 40 investors across Europe, which are interested on, let's say, analyzing venture around space, upstream and downstream. And those investors, what is interesting, are not only, as I was saying at the beginning of the speech, to coming from the deep tech, we are coming also from the deep tech, so are not the classic specialized fund like, I don't know, Promus, Seraphim, Primo Space. But we have much more entering here, which also we can even enlarge the synergies between the different portfolio company, different sectors. Last point that I want to say is that somehow we cannot do this alone. We have a strong partner also to go beyond just the equity investment, but also we are looking for more not diluted kind of investment, where, for instance, we are facilitating the opportunity to get loans. For instance, we have an agreement with the European Investment Bank, where we are helping company to, via the advisory service of the European Investment Bank, to facilitate the access to the product. But also we are reflecting on what kind of new financial scheme we can facilitate to create. And those are very important, because those will definitely impact the new way of we do business, with new way we are creating program. So this is a little bit a quick overview of the activity. But the main point that maybe we can, we can discuss later if there is time, is really how we can manage the risk and how the difficulty of managing project in this new space context.
Yeah, thank you, Gianluigi. I fully share your thought and your comments, and definitely it's all on how to manage properly the new risk model that also shall be considered beside the financial and the business model per se. So that's very good insight, and thanks a lot. And surely we will discuss further later. Now let's go to Andreas and to see what's the perspective from an LSI. So Andreas, it's from OHB, and we would like to know from you how the new space economy helped and impacted OHB in your operations and activities.
Yeah, thank you, Giovanni. So I'm happy that you didn't introduce me as old space. That's very good. That's good. We are an LSI. So what we also say that is new space is not something you are. New space is something what you do. That's also very important. And I think our company, our group OHB, has shown this since 40 years already, that it's a family-owned company, did go new ways. I mean, we sometimes call us, or we did start as a garage company 40 years ago. And so we have shown that we did go new ways and different approaches. And I think one question that how I was invited to this panel was the question, OHB backed or invested in Rocket Factory Augsburg, RFA. And this is one example of going new ways. I mean, already early, more than 5 years ago, OHB didn't know there's a change you can feel. Yeah, there's a change also in approaches for space transportation in general, but also in this field of mini launchers. And that's why we're backing, for example, a company like Rocket Factory Augsburg. We think also that in future Europe will use such launchers. Everybody would be happy if all of those mini launchers would be ready already now, so they could fly every day to bring up payloads, European payloads. And So OHB believes in also in these mini launches, but also new approaches, and we have shown this by, for example, also by booking on Rocket Lab in the past. So 2 times or 1 time we booked ourselves a satellite on Rocket Lab, and of course this was just as an example. This was not the let's say the cheapest price per kilogram, but this was the most cost-effective price in this case, or best solution for this satellite, where we saved the frequency with, before it ended, and this was worth doing it. And so as OHB, as LSI, as you said, we have to find the right balance between being a reliable satellite manufacturer and company that provides services for institutional customers. Also for larger satellites, we have to be reliable. We have to be know what we're doing, of course. And but we also have we are looking for smaller satellites. We're going new approaches here. Also there, you have to be reliable, of course, but sometimes you have to be going more different ways. And here we also have shown that with companies like OHB Sweden or LuxSpace or also OHB Italia, we're building smaller satellites that are successful in the institutional, but also in the commercial market. And that's very important. So you have to be now a step into both. You have to not forget the institutional customers and that rely on you, but also you have to be successful with the new commercial customers. And so, for example, we are engaged in, if we talk today about new space, we are engaged in this in the SmallSat conference in the USA already now since a few years. And why I'm mentioning this? Because that's the place to be if you want to do new space. And also, I want to say that small satellites are not a niche. It's in the next 10 years, 95% of the satellites that will be launched are small satellites. And small satellites in this case means below or smaller than 500 kilogram. And so what's new space? I mean, Gianluigi described it already a little bit. So it's a different way. For example, also the agencies approach companies or giving contracts. So imagine you have to work, you have to prepare a company excursion, and you have to do the travel planning. And imagine now you would do, you define a bus you have to bring the company people of 30 people you have to bring into a bus. You define the wires. You even define who is the driver of the bus, what's his age, and what's his name, and so on. So this is not the way how you would plan travel of your company, for example. No, you would go to a company and you would not care which manufacturer is the bus in this case for this travel. You would look for the most economic solution and the best economic solution, and in reality, and that's also the new approaches. I mean, as I said, Gianluigi described it in the past. For example, ESA described everything, and this changes now. Because there are smart people everywhere, and in the companies, of course, they will find the best solutions. Of course, it has to be reliable, it has to be safe, and so on. That's clear, but that's what you also expect if you buy a ticket in the train or in the plane. And so just one example of things that are changing. That's from my field, from the space transportation. So. In the past, we did see point-to-point access to space, where launches transported satellites, for example, at a certain orbit in space. And in the future, we will also see more end-to-end transportation, meaning that there will be launches to certain orbits. And from that orbits, there will be, for example, space tugs, ISTVs, in space transportation vehicles that transport cargos or satellites to other places. And my last point is, for all those endeavors that industry has in mind, but also agencies have in mind, we need the governments. We need ESA as anchor customers. It was mentioned already now, but I would even go further. You you need a sustainable demand. Yeah, you have to, because as industry we have to invest, we have to go take risks, and therefore we need really something like a sustainable demand. Otherwise, it's risky. Of course, we are still talking about high-tech topics. So thank you. That would be my 5 minutes.
That's very good. That's very true, Andreas. The sustainable demand. I think it's a key topic in actually making this new space becoming a true reality. And we can say that, for instance, for what happened in the US with the SpaceX, etc. Actually, NASA was actually providing that long and durable, long-standing demand to SpaceX. And very quickly, you just mentioned that event for SmallSat for New Space. I would like to mention that next week we will be present at the New Space Expo Forum in Rome. Just to mention that also in Italy, the new space economy, it's becoming more and more important, and ASI is also pushing a lot for that. But sorry for this. I would like now to give the floor to our CCO, Pascal. And so we know that you have a lot of experience, having worked already with New Space Initiative, New Space activities, etc. And we would like to know from you and hear from you on what we at RHEA are doing in vis-a-vis the New Space initiatives and New Space economy per se. Pascal.
Thanks, Giovanni, and good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk. If I may, Giovanni, I'd like to start from a macroeconomic view of what is New Space.
Please.
Because if we look back 25 years ago, actually the space sector, the space industry was essentially institutional. What has changed today, space has become a business. And to create a business, what you need to do is to create value to your customers. To create values, what we need is access to funds, opportunity to take risks, and efficiency. And this is really what has changed over the last 25, 30 years. When you look back 25 years ago, all the key players that we knew in the space sector, the Eutelsat, Intelsat, Inmarsat, Arianespace, were all publicly funded initiatives, institutions. Now all those companies have become private companies and have triggered also the new space era emergence. But what was really the triggering element, if you look at the macro ecosystem, is that in the past, very few people were ready to invest into space as investors, because the risks were not controlled, the industry was not well understood. And if you look back at the trading on the stock exchange of those companies which I mentioned, take a Eutelsat, for example, or an SES in Luxembourg, the trading levels was very low, actually. So a lot of people, investors, it was not a question of money, but the risks were not understood, and the rigidity of the market in the investment market was really there. What has changed now is that people have demonstrated that efficiency can be brought to the sector. Funds are getting more and more accessible, and people are ready to invest, and risks are being ready to be shared and to be taken to create initiative and to create value to the customers. And this change in the macroeconomy has triggered the changes and the structuring changes that Murielle, Andreas, and Gianluigi have explained. So by coincidence, RHEA exists for 30 years now. So RHEA has evolved through that change of the space industry towards what is now a new space sector. So we have actually followed and accompanied that change as a partner, as a trusted partner that we always have been. So we are not at RHEA a satellite manufacturer. We are not a satellite operator. And I will leave, and this is the floor of Pierre Andreas in this panel. to talk about that. What we have done at RHEA is accompany those stakeholders, key stakeholders, in order to bring them solutions, not products, but solutions and services that would go along their needs in terms of creating efficiency, creating security and stability in their value proposition, and at the end of the day, creating value and agility in what they do. So to give some examples, we at RHEA we cover the whole value chain of the space expertise. So from the design up to the operations, up to the end-to-end operations and services that are sought by the stakeholders, should they be satellite operators or satellite manufacturers. And that starts with efficiency in the design. So in partnership with ESA, and Gianluigi probably knows that very well, we have the privilege of running the concurrent design facility at ESA, where we accompany the stakeholders in making sure that the design upfront of their initiatives, should they be in the traditional space or in the new space, are really fit for the needs. Another aspect is regarding the agility that the stakeholders require in terms of ground segment and in services. In terms of ground segments, we have developed ground segment solutions which are able to interface with multiple platforms, because it's not a technology equation that we are looking at, it's really a business one. So for each problems, each solutions which are sought by the end user, we need really or the people engaged into the equation need to really spot the best solution. So we have developed ground segment solutions following the technology, of course, that we know today, cloud-based and as a service, which are capable of interfacing with multiple space segments. And last but not least, we are able, encompassing and aggregating all those services to provide end-to-end satellite operation services and downstream and upstream, because it's really important to understand that people who invest, as I said at the beginning, have really a business objective. So they are not there for fun. They are not there for technical technology journey. They are there for providing a value to their customer. So they really wish to focus on their final objective. The rest is a means to an end, and the end is the value. And what we are providing at RHEA is really those means. So a satellite as a service, an operations as a service, the solution as a service, so that for the satellite end-to-end operations or for the downstream application, the people that we are dealing with can really concentrate on their objectives. And this is there is a last point that I would like to underline, is that well, we know it, and we know it from even more from the COVID time and from the turmoils that we are in at political and geopolitical level now. But cybersecurity has become a real challenge from an end-to-end perspective for all the space segments. And at RHEA, we have developed cybersecurity as really a second pillar next to our engineering pillar and space engineering first pillar and engineering pillar. We have developed a real focus on cybersecurity solutions, so that from an end-to-end perspective and on each channel of the chain, we can secure the satellite operations and satellite applications. This has been really key now. Nobody can claim that any satellite application can be free from any IT weaknesses or cyber threat. And this is really something that has to be integrated from the start in all the solutions that are developed and that RHEA is developing for its customers. So in a nutshell, we have really accompanied the change of the space industry from traditional space to the new space on both axes, space and cybersecurity and security as a whole. And we wish to do that in an agile manner, because we know that our customers and stakeholders and partners on a long-term basis need to really focus on their business.
Thank you.
Because this is the expectation of their investors.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Pascal, thanks a lot, and for this overview of what we are doing as I'm part of the of the game, so to
You knew it.
But I think you touch base some very important elements, like the concept of providing elements as a service, and also the cybersecurity, from where I think we definitely exploit space as as an enabler for let's say adding more and more value on our cybersecurity value proposition, and also the topic of doing activities possibly and potentially in a more agile way with respect to what potentially we were all used to do in the classic, let's say, space activities. Speaking of which, I would like to pass the floor to Pierre. And I mean, he's representing a new space company. So finally, you may say. Pierre, you represent a company that was created just 5 years ago, and you already employ more than 200 people. So you are definitely positioning yourself as a leading global satellite manufacturer. So what's the recipe for such a success? Can you share that with us?
Sure. Thank you very much, Giovanni, for inviting me and be the voice of the new space. And I would tend to agree with Andreas that new space is not about being some new space company. Is about how you do things, and I would also put the accent on how we've done things so far. So in addition to this pedigree you described, we have also been developing the company very aggressively by expanding into 4 different countries. And in those 5 years of existence, launching 4 satellites in space. And also we have so 4 additional satellites that are built and waiting to be launched by early next year. And so what's doing or acting as a new space company? I think there are 2 points that are fundamental that have already been mentioned by my colleagues. So Murielle touched about proliferated architectures. So this is an approach where you would put the redundancy at the super system level, and not by having a highly redundant monolithic spacecraft or architecture, but by, let's say, taking more risk on the spacecraft and at spacecraft level, and compensating by multiplying those. And so this also, let's say, brings the dimension of mass manufacturing and economies of scale. It's kind of the Ford model applied to satellites manufacturing. So I would say this is a change in paradigm where you accept more risk at spacecraft level, and that enables you to really reduce costs at unit level. Of course, new space is driven by its ability to reduce the unit costs, and one of the main driver is the access to space. This has also been, let's say, mentioned by most of my colleagues. To name them, SpaceX are a driver here, but I wanted also to bring that we have players like RHEA or KSAT that are providing ground station as a service and operations as a service, which greatly contribute to reduce this cost of access and operations of space. That is also something new that sometimes gets a bit shadowed by SpaceX and their achievements. I wanted to add also two points to what is to act as a new space company. One is agile aerospace. So this is a design methodology, and it expands also to manufacturing and operations, where you will undergo. So it's from software development, but you would apply it both in software and hardware, and you would undergo iterative fast development loops, more based on trial and error rather than what you would do in more traditional space approach, where you have one shot and you need to achieve the home run. So here it's also about additional, let's say, risk taking that gets, let's say, compensated by the fact that you integrate this into a design and manufacturing loop, where you will try iteratively to validate your solutions. And the last point I wanted to bring here also was that all this change in being able to reduce the unit cost in satellite manufacturing and other, let's say, value chain elements is a consequence of something that has happened in the electronics industry, where we would see a very big cost reduction in the IT hardware cost and electronic components costs. And this is, of course, the driver of us being now in the big data era, but it also applies and drives heavily and pulls the space industry, especially Earth observation, where if you didn't have those cost savings with cloud companies now that can host your data at a fraction of the cost that was 10 years ago, we couldn't, let's say, really realize all the, let's say, benefits of being able to do cheaper spacecraft and have those proliferated architectures. So how does the new space materializes at Aerospacelab? And I wanted to start by saying that we also are active in traditional space activities. And again, I think this is important to also balance that, because typically for institutional customers, you need to be able to work into, let's say, a stricter quality framework. So at Aerospacelab, we have built a CubeSat for the space agency, which is the ProBavi companion CubeSat. It, of course, has taken us twice the time that it took to come up with our other spacecraft of the same class. But it was very important for us also to demonstrate to the market that we are capable of operating under, let's say, classic development schemes. We also worked with Airbus Defence and Space on the definition of the future institutional Earth observation service, or we have a project with RHEA that is where we will be joining forces with Ariane Group to demonstrate technologies in space in the near future. But new space activities, and I will also build on what was said here, is also very much commercial, and it's also very much about sharing the DNA with other new space companies and being much more aggressive and risk takers in our development activities. And typically here we are teaming up with US companies. I can name Albedo, who are a disruptive Earth observation company. And we have a lot of pleasure also to have those very visionary projects and accompany them in their developments. So yeah, to conclude, I would say the new instruments and initiatives like the innovative ESA commercialization that Gianluigi represents are definitely helping us in our scale up and in our growth, and other like Copernicus contributing missions were very good opportunities for us to generate short-term revenue through also institutional programs like Copernicus and onboard the ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Pierre, for these insights on Aerospacelab. Now I see that we have mostly 10 minutes left, so I would like all the attendees to use the Q&A button that you have at the bottom of your screen to pose questions if you have. I see that we have already one from Peter, so I'm going to read it. Is the space industry currently exhibiting characteristics of a bubble akin to the telco and dot-com bubbles, with notable parallels such as a proliferation of companies offering similar services and a looming shortage of talent to sustain the rapid growth? And I would like to hear from Murielle and Gianluigi on this one.
Yeah.
Murielle, please.
Well, of course, there's a proliferation, blooming of new companies. well, of course, the market in Europe, but of course, all these new space companies have a larger view about the market. They want to tackle immediately a market at international level. But well, the competition is very tough, and well, it seems obvious that many of these young companies will not succeed. So let's say it's something quite new, in fact, now, but it's a case in any economical sector. The new space, in fact, is that well, space is now entering a new dimension and real economic and industrial productivity and profitable dimension. And well, a Darwinian process will apply. So of course, one can think about a bubble. Luigi talked about a huge private investment in 2021. It was an enormous peak of private investment. Since then, with the SPACs problem, SPAC deflation, and the fact also that the money is cost a lot now, is a little bit less accessible. Well, of course, it will be more difficult for this company to run their roadmap and to address the budget they need to scale up. But anyway, in all these new companies, there are real good ideas, and well, I'm sure that many of them are going to troubleshoot and to develop and to change deep the space sector we know as an institutional and historical arsenal, let's say. So, well, I think we are really entering a new era.
Thank you, Murielle. Gianluigi, you wanna support the discussion here with this question?
Indeed. So, well, thank you, Peter, for asking this question, because it's something that is in our top priority now in the agency, with our stakeholder. What I can tell you is that Eurospace has estimated that if we want to keep alive all the system startups that are growing, we need an increase of funding of 1.2 billion of public funding a year. So this is the figure. So you can imagine that this is it's quite a challenge. However, we see that there is an increased contribution in visa program. There will be soon in the next MFF for the European Commission also, where we is also expecting an increase. Now, as Murielle said, I mean, we want to support the global, the good ones, the ones that are able to deliver a product, deliver a service. This is true. And the other element that we want to, so you know, the market will make the selection as well. On the other side, what we are reflecting is also what are the current activity that we can do to generate more revenue. And as, let's say, Pierre was mentioning, we create, for instance, a scale-up invest, which will create an easy marketplace where we can try to facilitate the match of demand and supply. There is more and more the customer, anchor customer role. And moreover, you know, we are trying really to do our best to increase the awareness of space-enabled services and product for no space. This is clear, and I know McKinsey is coming with a report before Davos, so the report will be ready in January, where they will try to make the assessment on the space economy, and also what is interesting, not only what will be the new businesses that, you know, the exploration to the moon, the mining, energy from Earth, and so on from the space, but it will be also the reflection what we can do with the current technology, what can be new use cases for the, let's say, most for the terrestrial business. This is something that I think we need to work more as the whole ecosystem really to expand
that direction. Thank you very much, Gianluigi. In the meantime, we received a couple of more questions. So one is direct to Pascal. and it's from Franco Chiaravallotti. And the question is, what business models have proven more viable so far in space-related services? What are the main risks for starting a new innovative service, e.g. high infrastructure cost or technical risk, etc.? Thanks.
That's a good one. Well, the most successful initiatives are the one which is I mean, you may sound it basic, but which had really evaluated the demand to which they were answering. I think the big mistake that may affect new space companies is to catch the bubble and pretend that they just endorse a technical journey. They have to start from evaluating what is really the market demand and how they can achieve it with an efficiency perspective. So far, the most successful endeavors into the new space have been the one which are providing a rapid and efficient solutions to the need of their customers as really a service. So people are not looking at it anymore, customers anymore. And you may do a parallel with what we see in IT. In IT world, nobody knows nowadays are looking for investing into their own infrastructure. Everybody is looking as IT as a service, IT as a cloud-based service. This is a bit the analogy in space. People are focusing on their solutions and their needs, and they wish to have an integrated service which will satisfy their needs as much as possible and as fast as possible at the lowest price. And this is what Aerospacelab is doing in its business model. Other new space companies are doing, and this is also what OHB is doing by facilitating the access to space. So people are not looking anymore to a technology; they are looking for a need, solutions, and this is really. The successful ones are really the ones which have understood that and focused in a straight line to satisfy that demand and are ready to take the risk in taking that straight line.
Thank you, Pascal. We have a new one, so the time is running, so I will be quite quick. From Guillaume Benner to Pierre. So he wants to know, what is the typical lead time for a small satellite production, and how do you manage to secure short lead times required by the new spares?
So thank you, Guillaume. That's an excellent question. That's true that now we are seeing an acceleration also in the requirements in terms of lead times. So people were comfortable with 2 years, and now it's jumped to 1 year, and now it's becoming below the year. So one driver is the documentation you need to provide to the launch service provider, which puts a mark at 8 months in advance. So you would struggle to go shorter to that. On our side, we are, let's say, aggressive when offering 9 months lead time and comfortable with 1 year. So that's from contract signature to satellite in space. And to do so, we use standardized customization, which means we have a large portion of the design that is standard across the platform, which enables us to build inventory. And we have a part of the spacecraft that gets customized to the dedicated mission. So that's how you do it, by inventory and by having a smart design that can adapt somehow to the requirements of the customer and be flexible.
Thank you very much, Pierre. So one very last question with a quick answer potentially to Andreas. I would like to know how you at OHB are benefiting from the, let's say, the digital transformation and this sort of spinning of technologies that we are seeing today in space, thanks to this new space era. Andreas.
Well, maybe that I didn't describe this at the beginning, but of course, OHB is more than a satellite manufacturer, and especially we described also that we go for downstream applications, and so we have 3 branches meanwhile. Yeah, that's the one is space systems, aerospace, and the third one is called digital. Yeah, and that's for services, that's for downstreams, that's for the topics in that direction. And of course, I think we are also benefiting from this developments in that direction. And that, for example, also our solutions to apply also our solutions not only for space business but also for other areas, railways, for example, and so on. So this is, I think, really good for us. And then, of course, I mean, if you take cloud computing, that's all those topics, or AI, that's topics that we are close to, yeah, and also for space applications in this case.
Okay, Andreas, thanks a lot. So I think we are almost there. Well, we are there indeed, because it's 5:30 p.m. So this, I would say, marks the end of our RHEA Talk. And I would like to thank everyone who has asked question, and of course our esteemed panelists that today shared with us the stage and shared their thoughts with us. So with this, I would like to wish you all a very nice evening, and keep in touch for the next RHEA Talk.
Thanks a lot, Giovanni.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Murielle,
Thank you.
Pierre,
Bye-bye.
and Andreas.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And you, the new space. Bye-bye.